Then I felt God, the great I am presence of all things, come to me and expands me back out. And it showed me everything within me and within us, the whole universe. I could feel everything within me, and I could feel this incredible love. The sun had its own consciousness, and it was churning with bliss. And God said to me, this is still what you are. You can never not be this. I quickly came back into being in the body and just being in the simple existence of being in the womb. And then I have a memory of the day I was born. I will try to start at the beginning of this experience, but it's difficult to speak to chronologically in linear terms because our higher nature transcends our local linear time. And so I'll just also disclaim in general that language just can't possibly speak to our higher nature or where we come from. It's just so beyond human language. Human language is form, symbols, that are local to our world and based on the assumptions of our world. And who we truly are so vastly transcends those limitations that it's almost ridiculous to try to put language on it. So I'll just go ahead and jump in and try to use words with a disclaimer that it's just so hard to do so. When I was 30, I took up a long-term meditation practice and began to have out-of-body experiences after a few months. And I also began to have pre-birth memory return to me. And I remember that I actually had that memory as a small child up until the age of like 4 or 5. I remembered choosing this life and why. And when the memory returned around the age of 30, it was just like so obvious and natural. Like, it wasn't just huge epiphany or something. It was like someone had just blown leaves off of the ground and there was the grass. And it was just so very normal. I remember long before I had ever even had a physical experience, before physical incarnation at all, coming across a being who had been physical. And we were in a realm of living light. I was with a large group of beings that were moving across this landscape that I'm using the word landscape loosely. It was like a realm of light, a living light. And there was this being in the group that was so bright. He just exuded this level and quality of freedom and power and joy. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what could you possibly do to be this? Do you feel as much joy as I feel that you feel, and as much freedom as I feel that you feel? And when I asked him, like, how are you this? How do you feel this much? How do you know this much? How is the quality of your essence like this? Something like that. And he shared with me that he had lived, well, many times, but one in particular, he had lived a physical lifetime in which he had suffered from a long-term health condition. He had some kind of pain in his body. And the way that he chose to meet that pain allowed a refinement of his being. It's like the only way I can describe it. It was like he grew, he evolved through that experience, through how he handled and held that experience. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. Like, I was so inspired. And at first he said something like, and again, these aren't words, and this is not negative, but it was something like that. Yeah, that's what they all say. Like, you just don't know how hard this thing that you're asking is, kind of thing, like, I was just ignorant to what I was asking, like how challenging it can be to be physical and be human in this case. And I persisted. I said, no, I mean it. I want to do this. And he said, well, go talk to your guides. So I don't have right after that, but I know that I lived a number of times, and I went back and found this being again later, and he was encouraging that I was on the path. So the majority of my pre-birth memory, though, is of a time somewhat immediately preceding this life and the life just before this life. And I had taken a long break. I remember being in this realm of golden light and feeling connected to all things and being able to move at a whim and being engaged in creative activities that I could barely even describe now, activities of creative thought and mutual creation. And this guide coming to me every once in a while and saying, are you ready to go back yet? Are you ready to go back yet? Just like, not pestering, but just kind of like reminding me of my own intention and putting him off for a while and be like, no, I'm not ready yet. No, I'm not ready yet. And then eventually he came to me and I said, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready now. And then I remember reviewing with this guide what I can only describe as my state, like who I've been, what I knew, what I understood at the being level, not intellectual understanding, but like you could almost say like virtues maybe, or qualities of being that I knew I had. And it was like, this is just a metaphor, but it was like if you looked at a chart with 1,000 data points on it, but I could just see this one very specific low vibration fear that had bested me in a previous experience. Because of the fear, I had become an egoic monster in a previous life, and I had caused a lot of damage for others. And so I could see like, wow, if I could meet and heal, integrate that super low vibration fear, that would be incredible. Like it would be such deep expansion and healing, not only for myself, but for all that is. It was like, I knew I would be like doing a service for the whole if I could do this myself. They brought me a lifetime that was appropriate for that intention. It wasn't this lifetime, it was the one just before this. And I remember reviewing that life in incredible detail, like reviewing millions and millions of possibilities of what that life would be like. And then I remember there was a moment I said yes to that life. And then I remember accepting the veil. So the veil is just a word we use to describe the limitations in consciousness that we wear, that we adopt, we take on in order to have the super dense, low vibration, calcified or something experience of being physical. It's the only way I can describe it. And it felt like a plummet in the vibration of my being, which was like, just imagine the body of your awareness being at a very high vibration and being connected to everything. And then that vibration suddenly plummeting down, 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 lower, 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 lower more, keep going, and then more, and then lower more. And then you think you're at the bottom, and no, more, lower, more. Like that's how it felt in the body of my awareness, and having all of my knowing be cut off. So then I had arrived. I was in the womb. I was in the body that was to be mine. And I was there for a short time. And then I was like, I am not doing this. There is just no freaking way I'm doing this. Like, this is so painful. This is so dark. And I had so much fear rise up because I felt like I had lost all that I really am. And so I summoned my might and I smote the veil. I punched it. I fought my way back out through it. And I was successful at doing that. But I saw immediately that I had killed the fetus that was to be in my body. And I had a life review, just like they describe in your death experiences, where I could see all in a flash, but all like tons of content all at once, everything that my choice affected. So I could see the grief that I had heaped upon the mother because she had a miscarriage, because I had rejected the body. And I could see how, because the mother had grief, she would carry that with her, and hundreds of other people, all of their journeys would be made more difficult because of the mother's grief. And I could feel it and see it from all perspectives. I had only made the journey more difficult for the players in the game, so to speak. And that was not my intention. So eventually they brought me this life because I still wanted to do this. And this life was not as perfect of a match as the first one would have been. The point is that the context, the body, the family, the culture, the time period, the world, all of it offered a certain like package or something, like a certain context package that would make it pretty good for my intention here to face this fear. And I remember reviewing this life in incredible detail. And once again, it was like, so this life, I remember reviewing millions of possibilities again, but the way I describe it, it was like if you took a large tree and laid it on its side and you started at the thick part of the tree and you worked your way out to the branches. It was like reviewing millions and millions of possible branches and outcomes all at once. And there were events in that, physical events, but it was more about what would it be like to be me? Like, what would it feel like, to be Christian in these branches? And I made certain requests for the life. Like, for instance, I asked, can I be intelligent again? Because I knew that I had been intelligent in recent experiences, and they said, yes, you can do that. And I knew that it was important that I be male in this life, because I knew that somehow, like, not that there's nothing about, there's no superiority or something between sexual identity. It's just that there's different energies, male and female or other, are just different qualities of energy. And there was like almost like a certain obtuse edge that being male would offer me, that would help me to be able to like meet this fear head on. And I could see my parents, and I could actually see the day they met, and I felt the quality of the love between my parents. And I could feel how beautiful their specific combination of love was. And I could feel that it was important that my father would be my father, because he would instill confidence in me, and that confidence would give me like a rock to stand on, so that I could meet the fear when it came. And then I remember there having to be a moment to say yes to this life, and I don't remember that moment like it did for the first one, but I remember then sometime after that being in this waiting area, like an in-between place, and this guide suddenly coming to me. It felt like over what we would call our left shoulder, even though it's 360-degree vision. The guide came to me, and he just suddenly grabbed my attention, like, go now, like right now, like no waiting, like not in 5 seconds. I'm saying like right now, buddy, like kind of thing, like you got to get on Earth time. And then suddenly being in this room, I can only describe as, and again, this is just a metaphor, but like a mechanic's shop. It looked like a metal chamber in space, you could say, because I was now close to the Earth vibrationally. And below me, I could see the Earth below. There was like a shaft in the floor, like a hole in the floor. I could see the Earth below it, and I was hovering in the middle of the shaft. And on the far side of this chamber were these beings that I can only describe as veil application technicians. So they are beings who they are skilled at matching the complex nature of the life. So the body, the biology, the energy, the family, the culture, the world, everything. It has its own unique, complex package thing going on, with the extremely unique nature of the soul, you as a spiritual being, which is super unique. Like, we like to think that we're all kind of the same. We are actually extremely unique beings. And so they do this thing that like makes it all jive. Like they do this kind of organic fit to make the life and the being fit organically, so that the veil is effective. Like they kind of make it watertight, so to speak. Even though I had asked in my experience if I could have just a small bit of memory. So I don't know how that works, but I did ask to have just a small bit of memory this time. So they had that ready, and then I was hovering there, and then they asked me one last time, are you sure? Are you ready to do this? And I knew that once I said yes here, that I was like strapped in for the ride. Like I knew that once I said yes here, it was like there's no getting off the roller coaster until it comes to a complete stop kind of thing, And saying yes, and then once again feeling this plummet in my vibration, down, 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 lower, 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 more low. And I like to describe it metaphorically as like if you have like an amplifier that produces a pitch, like, and then you like turn the knob down, and then at the bottom you keep turning it lower, and then lower, 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 and lower, and you think it's at the beginning, it keeps going low. That's how it felt once again, to accept the veil and come into the veiled physical experience. And I felt all of my connectedness disappear, and all of my knowing, like it felt like it was erased. In between those two experiences, I spent some time practicing surrendering my control to a veil in what I call a veil acceptance simulator room. It was like being dunked in the water of a dark pool, and you can like cry uncle and say, no, I want out, and they'll let you out, just to practice the vibrational drop and to surrender your control. So this time, as the actual veil came over me, I just focused on not fighting it and surrendering myself to it, And I can tell you that the real veil is more extreme than the simulator. It's it goes a lot lower. I remember then being on the other side of it, but not knowing, because I had no knowing anymore. My knowing was cut off. So I remember one moment where I sent this message back to the technicians through this little like window, I could describe, this tiny little hole or something. And I sent this message back, did it take? Did the veil take? And they sent one message back, yes, it did. And then I actually felt accomplished because I know it sounds, kind of wild, but even making it to the physical is a huge accomplishment because we're at such a low vibration place. Like the density of this experience is off the charts. It's incredibly unique. Then I was there for a while. I don't know how long, but it didn't seem like very long before I said, you know what? I am not doing this. Like, I am not doing this. There's no freaking way I'm going to tolerate this for a whole lifetime. This is so dark. This is so dense. This is so cold, vibrationally cold. I am not going to tolerate this for a lifetime. And I had so much fear rise up because I felt like I had lost all that I really am, And so once again, I began to summon my might to fight my way out. And when I did that, the most holy moment of my physical journey happened. There are no words for this. But I felt what we call God. It's this ridiculously overcrude term. The great I am presence of all things come to me and expands me back out. And it showed me everything within me and within us, the whole universe. I could feel everything within me, and I could feel this incredible love. And I could feel the sun, our sun, the sun of Earth, churning. It had a consciousness to it. It was like alive somehow. I don't understand how that can be. But the sun had its own consciousness, and it was churning with bliss. And God said to me, this is still what you are. You can never not be this. And I was like, oh, then I don't have to fight, you see. Because I was fighting out of fear and because I thought I had lost all that I am. And so when I stopped fighting, I quickly came back into being in the body and just being in the simple existence of being in the womb. And it felt like I was there for a really long time. And then I have a memory of the day I was born. I remember the shock of the visual stimulus, the temperature, the pain. I remember the pain of circumcision. I remember looking up at the nurses and not having any idea what was happening, but being super curious and feeling love for these beings that were taking care of me. And I know that they say that babies like physically can't see that far because their eyes are not developed or something, but I don't know how but I experienced it. I could see the nurses. I could see the whole room actually. And later I drew the room from my mother and I said, the bed was here. You were laying here. Here was the doctor. Here was the heating grate. This was the color of the paint on the heating grate. I remember that. And I remember just being ridiculously curious, but having absolutely no idea what was going on. So I share all this now, even though this is a ridiculously personal story. I'm happy to share it, and I've done it many times now, probably over 100 times. I don't know. But the reason I share it is because while this is my experience, and I would never speak for anybody else, I can at least say that we all are much more than this human character that we have fallen so deeply asleep into. And I feel deeply impassioned to remind my brothers and sisters, everybody here, other parts of the one, that we don't have to be afraid and that we are far more than these very dense human characters that we've taken on for a while. We've really lost the forest for the trees on Earth in many ways, and we've fallen so deeply asleep into these identities and stories and thoughts and names and jobs and bodies and pains and fears. And we are actually so much more. And I know that like, how do you put words on that? But the thing is, we each know it. Like deep down, underneath all the questioning thoughts and underneath all the pains and the stories, all the stories, there's so many stories. Underneath all of that, we all sense there's something more. There's something more. If we can get in touch with that, we can be empowered here. We can be liberated here. We don't have to live in fear. There's actually no reason to fear at all. And when we align with that true nature, we end up aligning with this great power, which is love and joy and freedom and peace. That's our true nature. So that is the main message that I want to share, is that we are multidimensional beings of love and peace and freedom and joy. We really are. And we can bring that into this experience, and that is a very powerful, powerful thing to do.